Okay, welcome back, students. Today we're going to be using this video to recount the review exercise we did in class today. The learning target is I can use a check register to track debits and credits. I can reconcile check account with a bank statement, and I can compute simple interest using a interest formula. So let's jump right into it. So in 3.1, our goal was to master this idea of checking accounts. So in our first question, it says, Azati has 113 in her checking account. During the week, she goes to the ATM and withdraws 40. She is charged a fee of $250. The following week, she deposits a paycheck of $189. She writes the two checks, one for $22, the other for $70. What is the current balance of her checking account? So the two steps that we want to use to ascertain the answer here is we first of all want to group the things that we would use as a deposit or a credit and debit. So things in green are considered credits. They add to our account. They add to our checking. Things that are in red are called debits. So the big goal, big idea is we want to add the things that are positive for our account, and we want to subtract the things that are negative for our account. So after you group your debits and deposits, you want to basically just combine like terms, right? So anything that is adding to your account, add them together. Anything that's taking away from your account, you add them together and then get the difference. In this case, $168.49 was the number. And quick survey, most people in most of my classes were able to get through this question pretty good. Let's move to the second question. It says Nazir and Amon have $12.39 in their business account. During the week, Nazir goes to the ATM, takes money out, and Amon deposited his check. And then Najir then pays online bills for the amount of $212, $55, $49, and $110 and change. So what is the balance for this current checking account? Okay, again, what we want to do is we want to take our time and identify what each number represents, and we do. Okay, now that each number has been represented, the things that add to our account, we sum them up. The things that take away from our account, we subtract them. And in your calculator, the number that you hopefully gets back is $14.21.19. Okay? So both of these problems are based on the idea of we look what our total deposit is, and that's basically the sum of our deposit minus the cash received. So each problem revolved around that idea. Let's transition to 3.2, reconciling a banking statement. Okay, Komora has a balance of $11.50 in our checking. On her statement, the balance of her account is $84.04. Not reported on the bank statement are the deposits of $125, $50, $212, and there are outstanding checks in the amount of $15.78 and an ATM withdrawal of $40. After Kamaya reconciles her check statement, what entry does she have to make in her registry? Okay, let's break this into a couple interesting parts. First part is identifying what each number means. So in blue, I've identified my check registry. So this is the amount that I've tallied out in my check registry. And then once a month, I'm comparing that to what the bank gives me. In this case, the bank is giving me $844. So that's obviously not the same as my check registry. So we have to take a step. The step is we add up the things that are positive for our account, and we subtract the things that are negative to our account, and we see if that gets us closer to 1150. So let's see what that gives us. Okay. So what does that say? So let me just restate. Now this probably can be a little bit confusing if we don't understand what we're trying to do. Our bottom line is we're taking this number in blue and we are, let me see if I can make this a little smaller. We are comparing it to the number that we generated by adding up the blue deposits and the red withdrawals. And let me be clear here, okay? When we do that, we get this number of 1099.58. We're now taking that 1099.58 and we're comparing it to 1150. And we're saying, hey, they're not the same number. Okay, so because they're not the same number, we know that I got to do something to make my checkbook balance. And what is it that I have to do? I have to subtract this 5076. All right, so the answer here is D. Adjusting an entry of negative 5076 more needs to adjust your check register by subtracting the amount. Therefore, it will balance your statement. This is probably one of the more tricky questions that we'll have on our assessment tomorrow. All right, let's go to problem 4. And it reads, the Thomas family have a balance of $36.64 and change in their check register. On their bank statement, the balance on the account is $23.46 and change. Not reported on the bank statement are checks of $324, $25, $78, $30, and their outstanding deposits as well, $500 and $14.56. There are 3 ATM withdrawals, $60 each. What does the family need to do to reconcile their checkbook? All right, so what are we going to do? First step, again, is to take the top number that's in our check registry and compare it to what the bank has given us. All right, check registry is $36.64. The bank has given us a statement of $23.46. Not the same numbers, all right? So we're going to take everything that's in green. That is monies that are coming to us that are outstanding. And then we're going to subtract it from monies that are supposed to be taken away from the account that are also outstanding. Again, remember, the green numbers are adding, the red numbers are subtracting. And we also got to remember this ATM is $60 every time we do it, so that's 3 times 60. So our number should look like this. Okay. So our revised statement balance is always the ending statement balance plus the outstanding deposits minus the outstanding debits, withdrawals, charges, and bank fees. And so that's what we try to capture here. So everything that's in green is outstanding deposits. We add those up, we subtract out the withdrawals, the charges, and the bank fees, and we see, voila, a number that brings us back to where we started, of $36.64, $36.64. So if I have a $36.64 in my check register and on my revised statement, and I subtract each of them, 0 is what I come back with. That means, folks, the family needs to do nothing because the amount is balanced. That's a good day for us. That's exactly what we want this to be. All right, and if you're struggling trying to understand this whole idea of revised statement balances, please go back to the original video I put out on this. I get the fact that it's easy to get behind, but it's also easy to get caught up to. So please go back, okay? All right, let's go to 3.3 when we have a new concept. Okay, the concept that I want to make sure that we're clear on is this idea of interest. Now, we have a relationship in that the interest is my principal times my rate times my time. But there's some key words that I want you to be looking for when you're reading word problems. Interest, okay, anytime a problem says earn or balance or interest, we know that that's what we're trying to solve for I. P is principal, okay, that's the amount of money I started with. So when someone's deposited something or invested something or they have a principal, that's where we have to be, kind of investigative and realize that's what we're looking for, principal. Now, rate. Similar word for rate is interest rate, percentage. When we're looking for rate, we're basically going to use this equation of interest divided by the principal times the time. All right, these are going to be our base formulas that we all get or all use simply from our original interest formula. Let's talk about Amelia's problem. In problem 5, Amelia opens a saving account with $17.50 she receives at graduation. Well, what is that $17.50? That is her principal. The account pays 43%. Well, 43% is what? My rate. What is the balance after 6 months? Well, the balance is what is the balance? Okay. The balance is the interest plus the interest plus the starting balance. So the ending balance after 6 months, we can get that by taking the interest and adding that to our starting balance. Okay, so let's put together what we have. Okay. Screen up. See if it makes sense to you guys. Okay, so we broke this down. We said that the principal, $17.50. We said that my rate was 4.3%. I divide that by 100. This is my decimal. And balance after 6 months, 6 months is half of a year. That's 0.5. So we get 37.63 as our interest, but it wants to know what our end balance is. Our end balance is our start balance plus our interest earned, and then our end balance. So after 6 months, the balance is 1787.63. That was kind of a tricky one, guys, because it didn't ask for the interest, it didn't ask for the principal, it didn't ask for any of these things that we just talked about. It asked for something completely different, and we needed to know that we can get all of that by simply taking that interest and adding it back to my initial balance. Okay, so that was a little bit of a tough one. Okay, all right, this video is going a little bit longer than I wanted, but this is for you guys to review, so I guess it's important that we do that. Okay, all right, let's go through here again. All right, Nazir deposited $3,700 in the account. That's the word deposit. Where's deposit at? Okay, that's a principal amount. In his account, he pays 2.5% simple interest. That word percent. Okay, well, there's the rate. He keeps the money in the account for 3 years. 3 years must be the time here, but doesn't make any deposit or withdrawals. How much interest will he receive after 3 years? That word interest came back. Where's interest? Okay, so interest must be right here, I. So the formula I'm looking for is I equals PRT. Okay, let's use that. Okay. I equals PRT. All right. Okay. Line up my numbers. Okay, deposit, interest, time, and here we are. After 3 years, my interest will be 23.80. Excuse me, 238.65. $20.38. All right, that was pretty straightforward. Okay, let's see if you guys can do 7. Okay, and 7, let's look at it. Demand invested 5,000. Invest is the word. So invest, we know that's my principal. That's the amount I started with. In simple interest account for 5 years. So 5 years is going to be the time. What interest rate does the account have to pay? So there's $6,000 at the end of 5 years. Okay. Okay, so this is kind of interesting because we know that the difference between 6,000 and 5,000 is 1,000, and that's what we're really looking for, that interest rate. Okay, so in order to generate $1,000, we're looking for the rate. So the rate is the formula we're going to use. R equals I over PT. Bring that down. Bring this over. And let's see what we're working with. Okay, 5,000 goes into P. Interest rate, that's what the unknown is. 5 year goes into T. And that $1,000 is going to go into the interest. Remember, we started with 6, we ended with 5. Actually, we started with 5, ended with 6, so that we picked up $1,000. So what does our final work look like? Let's just talk about it here. So to earn $1,000 after 5 years with a starting balance of 5,000, the rate has to be 4%. How do we get 4%? R equals I divided by P, principal, and T, the time. 1,000 divided by 5,000 times 5 gives me 0.04. Okay, that's 4%. Okay, all right, so far so good. We literally have one problem left to do, and this will be a wrap on this extended video. Okay, so what are we looking for here? What are we looking for here? I don't need that. Okay. Here it says how much principal with that keyword principal, okay? So I think we're going to be using this formula right here. Was Delaney deposit to earn $1,000 in a simple interest rate for 2 years at 5%. Okay. Okay. All right, so yes, indeed. The principal formula is what we ended up using. And after 2 years, to earn $1,000, the principal must be $10,000. How do we get that? Well, we started with 1,000, and we divided that by 0.05. 0.05 is my percentage once I move the decimal point 2 spaces, and it had to be multiplied by 2 years. That gave me $10,000, and everything works the way it should be. And this is our final answer. Guys, if you're struggling still understanding the concepts, man, I can't emphasize enough. Nothing replaces talent like hard work. Very significant person in my life once told me, the will to win is more important than the skill to win. In a nutshell, you don't have to be a math person, but you do have to recognize that the more reps you get in a game, the better you get at it. So I always tell my sons and my students 30 minutes of study a day will always keep bad grades away. All right, so put in the time, please.